Okay, so hi everyone. Today we go back to our software engineering class. So, do you still remember what we learned last time? Last time, basically, we learned when we do software engineering, we need to write lots of documents, and there's complicated cooperation between programmers. They contribute to the same software project, right? So today we will introduce this revision control. It's like revision control system, and it's a very important tool in software engineering. So first, I will uh, give us an overview of what we will learn in this class. So basically, first I will give the concept of this revision control. Uh, we will know what's revision control and what does it do. And then we will go to the significance of this tool. As I said, it's an important tool. We should see why it's important, why we use such kind of tools. And finally, we will briefly look at several different categories of this revision control systems. Okay, so first let's go into the concept. Now suppose I have this scenario. Now you are a software team manager, and you take in charge of a large software development, and there's 1,000 programmers under your command, and they contribute to this single software. So here's the question: can anybody think of the most challenging task as this manager? Now you have 1,000 workers. They do different things.
It is to divide the task.
Yes, that's one challenge task you need to do. And but now, we can think of the most challenging task. So it's a correct answer, but it's still deviate from its most challenging task. Yes, the first step you need to divide the task to 1,000 workers, 1,000 programmers, and each of them they may write something every day, and maybe each programmer just writes a function, right? But the function should work together. And as we can see, the function the function you wrote yesterday maybe it's not valid today because there's some updates from other programmers.
To connect them into a group. To connect every functions.
Yes, that's a good answer. You are basically on the right track. So the most challenging task is to manage, right? Manage all those codes. By managing, you need to divide the codes into. You should divide function to different and distribute function to different programmers. And when they write something, you need to aggregate their output, right? So the most challenging task is managing the source code of different. The source code is outcome from different people. So most challenging thing here is how to manage.
You mean to combine them together? Okay.
Yes, combine is one most important function.
Okay.
There's more, such as you want to manage the as I said, I just gave an example, right? The function you wrote yesterday may be not valid today, so you also need to control the version of the source code. It's dynamic changing.
Yeah. So I have a question: is
Okay.
1,000 programs here? Is there really a project composed of 1,000 programmers, or just you to exaggerate?
Yeah, I just make up this.
Okay.
Basically, a team in software engineering is like a dozen people. It's a large team.
A dozen.
Yeah,
Okay.
Around 10 to 12 people is like large team. Basically, three. If you have a group of three, you also need this revision control system to help you.
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, this is the most challenging task, management. And now it comes to the concept. So as we discussed, the most challenging thing is manage the source code. And here the source code, we can have this concept of version. Basically, it means the source code is not static, right? It's change every day. It's changing every day. So different so the version is like a stack on that. On current time, you have all the source code you have, and you can number this as number one, and basically that's one version. And tomorrow you have something new, that's number two, that's another version, right? That makes sense. Okay, so this version is a very important concept to define this control unit of source code. As we can see in the software engineering practice, people usually use number or letters to represent the version of source code. Here, those three terms, they are equally changeable. Means they are basically they are saying the same thing. So the version, the revision, or the revision number, revision level, they are all talking about the same thing.
Just like Windows 7, Windows 8, something like that.
Yes, right.
Okay.
That's the version. That's the revision control hierarchy of Windows. And beyond the 7 and 8, there are many. The revision number, it's a really long revision number for Windows. And what we see is like the software we update every day, and at some final stage, the software becomes usable. You can make it public to use.
Okay.
Then you publish this version with a publish number. Publish
Okay.
version number. Okay. And so basically, this revision control system, they just use the system help you control or manage this different revision of source code. So that's the concept of this revision control. Do you have any questions?
Is the meaning of revision and the version the same meaning?
Yeah, right. Here they are all
Okay.
the same.
Okay.
But I think apart from the version numbers, we should attach something else to the version, but not just the number, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly. That's correct. That's idea. That idea is embedded in this revision control system. So in the next slides, when we talk about this significance, we will go to that problem. Go to that questions. Okay. So far we are clear on it. Okay. So we go to the next section. It's the significance. So before we go to the next slides, can you think of can you enumerate some functions that makes this revision control very important? Why it's important? Because it can help you accomplish certain functions, right? Or maybe you can just give me some reasons why this is important. That's okay. It's an open problem. Any answers is okay.
It should handle the concurrency.
Concurrency. Yes, right. That's right track.
So if two person contribute to a same period of code, then they make some difference. There appears to some difference in their codes, two versions. So how to handle these differences?
Yes, right, correctly. Excellent. Basically that's thing in this revision control, we use the term conflict, which means the same function is modified by different people at the same time. And then there's a conflict because you must make the decision which is the final version of the code, which is the final version of this function.
But But why we have two people at the same time developing the same function?
Maybe you assign this function to the programmer A,
Mm.
but at the same time, the programmer B, he has a good idea to implement this function. He thinks he can implement this function more efficient with better algorithm, so he contribute. I mean, you cannot forbid people to contributing, right?
Yeah.
And then there's the conflict. Okay, so let's go to this significance of this revision control. Why it's important? Basically, it's answered by those 5 functions of this revision control. So the first one is like backup. That means revision control system. We can imagine, right? There must be a server somewhere, and or the distribution. All the codes are stored or managed by the server. So the server also has this function of backup. And the second function is track and revert changes. That means the code change every day, and we can see the current stage of the code, right? So with this revision control system, we can see the historical version. So let's track the change. And the revert means maybe yesterday you made some decision and today you think it's not a good decision and you want to go back, so you can easily go back. And the third one is synchronization. The synchronization mostly happens on the client, on the participant. The programmers. Sorry. So that means if you contribute something to the system, to the ultimate software, and you contribute your code into the server, right? And the other people should see your contribution, so they can download or they can synchronize the updates you made. So this function of synchronization. And the first one, and I think this one is interesting. So that's the problem we just discussed. We should not only just track the number of the version, we also need to track who made this change. So here it's with this term, it's like track ownership. And why we need to track ownership? Here is a negative example. It's to blame. If something is going wrong, you should know who did that, who need to blame, who to be blamed. Okay. And the last function is like branch. So branch here is like a new idea. That's saying when this software, it's like you add functions to your software, and at some point, some functions. Some people think those functions should be ended into the function, into the software, and other people disagree. Now there's a disagreement in the development of this software. So as a manager, you cannot just say we should do this rather than that, right? So maybe sometimes you will need this branch, which means you have 2 implementation of the same software, and maybe after this, basically branch is a split. So you have 2 implementation, and maybe you can do some customer survey, and in the later stage you will decide which is better, and you keep that one. Okay, so that is make sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's basically why this is important. I guess it's really, I think it's obvious. It's easy to understand. Okay, since we're on the same page, we will go to the last section. The last section is like, it's introduce you some different 2 categories of this revision control system. And this is more to the practice. So we will discuss those 2 details of 2 details of those two systems in the next class. Here I just give the name. So the first one is the centralized revision control system. So the server is centralized. Another one is distributed revision control systems. And I can, this one is a newer one. It's better than the previous one, and it's more pervasive in the software development practice. And for the detail, we will visit the details in next class. Okay. So that's it. Let's have a review, simple review. The three sections we have today. The first one, the concept. So the main function of the revision control system is to manage the source code, and the significance, because of the 5 functions of this revision control system, that makes it very important in software development. Finally, the categories, we have 2 categories, which we will cover in next class. Okay, do you have any questions?
Can you give us some examples of the current software that to do the version control?
Yeah, sure. I can give you one. It's called Git. 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 So the Git is a distributed revision control system. Do you hear about the website called GitHub?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So the GitHub is like it's a website where many open source software are hosted. So that's like a server. You can put your code into that server and cooperate with other programmers. And the GitHub basically uses Git software. And in fact, in the next class, we will introduce how to use Git. So since now we have talked about this Git, you can play with it after this class. And you can bring any questions into our next class. Okay. Okay, thank you. That's cool. 这个是因为刚才没有录吗？